speaking of drugs, the New York Times is, well, they're not doing this. They already did it. It's already happened because I'm reading it. More people are microdosing for mental health, but does it work? So again, folks, there's been a lot of studies and interpretations of studies in regards to microdosing. I've done my own experiments as well. Over the last couple of weeks, I have experimented scientifically on myself, but I'll get into that in a sec. Let's read the New York Times interpretation by Dana G. Smith, February 28th, 2022. Joseph started microdosing his psychedelics 5 years ago to try to improve his mental health. I was just kind of in this depression and this rut. He said, I was unhappy and angry and agitated all the time, and it went against the way that I saw myself. Depression and anxiety run in Joseph's family, and he'd been prescribed Prozac as a kid. But when symptoms of depression returned in his early 30s, he didn't want to go back to a prescription drug. Joseph, an Austin-based designer, he asked to withhold his full name, citing privacy concerns surrounding mental health issues and illegal drug use, came across research from Johns Hopkins University about psilocybin, the active ingredient in hallucinogenic or magic mushrooms, and a small study full doses of the drug helped cancer patients. What is a full dose? That's what I hate about the way that articles write about this. Like, what is a full dose? Like, is like 50 grams a full dose? Like, what is full in this instance? Like, I'm just curious. Like, that's one of my big problems with reporting on microdosing and reporting on drug use in general, is no one ever talks about dosage. Because that's a big thing here. You know, what is a full dose versus a microdose? Like, if you don't know anything about what this is, you're not, like, you might think it's just a binary. Like, there's two options. You either take full or micro. So, what is full? I don't know. Helped cancer patients cope with depression and anxiety. Then he read anecdotes of Silicon Valley influencers claiming increased energy from taking tiny doses of psychedelics. So he decided to start microdosing a few times a week, eating a small nibble, about half an inch. Like, okay, so now, okay, so I'm sorry, as a microdosing fan. So full dose helps people cope with cancer. Eating a small nibble about half an inch. So we go from full dose, whatever the fuck that is, to, quote, half an inch. What? What? Half an inch? I mean, depending on how thick that motherfucker is, half an inch could fuck you up. What is that? What is this? Half an inch? Like, okay, so my second thing is, like, okay, why not, like, okay, buy a scale and weigh it out. That's just my thing. Right, but half an inch. I mean, like, I don't even know what that means. Almost immediately started seeing a benefit. It's just kind of boosted my morale, he said. I was in a little bit of a better mood. I had a little bit more pep to my step, and I was having a little bit more fun, feeling a little bit more excited about things. Microdosing is typically defined by experts as taking 5% to 10% of a, quote, full dose. Again, I don't know what the fuck a full dose is. I don't know what that means. Usually LSD or psilocybin, as a way to get supposed mental health benefits of the drug without the hallucinogenic high. For instance, in a clinical setting, a 155-pound man might take 20 milligrams of psilocybin for a full psychedelic experience. For a microdose, you'd only take 1 to 2 milligrams. Now, again, one of the problems with these microdosing experiments is a lot of these clinics have like concentrated psilocybin, right? Not just like, you know, fungal material. So it's like, you know, 99.9% of people that are going to microdose are not going to be using milligrams of psilocybin. They're going to be using, you know, like grams or, you know, potentially milligrams of like actual like matter, like, you know, fibrous materials. So, you know, that's another problem here. It's akin to walking outside and the sun is suddenly out, said Aaron Royal, 30, a bartender in Seattle who microdoses 1 or 2 times a week with mushrooms he forages from nearby forests. Now that's amazing. It reminds you that you are a better person who can feel positive things and notice things that are beautiful. And microdose carefully. Measure the amount of psychedelic they are taking. I personally am 100%. You need to measure everything that you put in your body. That's my opinion. Hello, Max. Max is woofing. Hello, Max. Yes, you're a big dog. I understand. Big dog. Research into the mental health benefits of full doses. Again, what is a full dose? So far in this article, full dose has been undefined. Is promising. In one early phase study, even found that psilocybin at high doses may now high and full. So now we've introduced multiple different language here. So we have full, which is like ideally like 100% of something, whatever that percentage is, and then you've got high. So is high less than full, or is high more than full? Who knows? Maybe as effective as a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor for treating depression. Full doses, now we're back to full, of psychedelics help the brain develop new cellular connections, a process called neuroplasticity, and there's some evidence that microdoses produce similar changes. So many of the scientists who pioneered research into full doses of psychedelics have started studying whether a microdose might also be beneficial. Again, none of these words mean anything so far, but evidence is limited and experts are divided about how microdosing helps people or if it does at all. So I just want to say real quick, the argument here that they're postulating is that it's a placebo effect. Even if taking a microdose is just a placebo effect, which let's assume it possibly is. Okay, and? Right, if we're talking about mental health, right? This isn't like, putting a, medicine on like a cut and then it heals faster than if you didn't put any medicine at all on it. Okay? Like, mental health is not quantifiable in that subject. So let's assume whatever it being a placebo effect means, how is that even quantifiable? Who knows, right? And the effect is still positive, right? And if we're talking about mental health, right, if someone is depressed or has anxiety and is crippling or debilitating, and they take something, and that anxiety or depression is no longer debilitating, that's a win. It doesn't matter if the drug is what's making 51% of the effect, like, real or something. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. So as far as I'm concerned, I personally do think microdoses are effective. I have experimented with this myself. And even if it's a placebo effect, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, for me, my ideal scenario is to take just enough to feel something. A lot of people say you should take sub-perceptual doses. I disagree. I think you should, take a perceptual, but not, overwhelming amount. That's just my opinion. I've had the best effects with that. So again, I see some numbers here. So let's look for the numbers. They're actually weighing out LSD here. So they're using numbers. One of the biggest problems with microdosing research is that it's hard to block the placebo effect in studies of psychoactive substance. In Dr. Irizzo's trial, 72% of people correctly guessed what they had taken, which means it's no longer blinded. For the studies showing effects in the brain, the biggest changes came at a higher end of the microdosing spectrum, 20 to 26 micrograms of LSD and 3 milligrams of psilocybin, an amount where people start to notice the drug effects. Now, again, that's actually, this echoes what I said. The biggest changes came at the higher end of the microdosing spectrum. If you feel a little bit, in my opinion, that's the ideal scenario. You want to feel something, right? You want to access that mind space, right? And then you want to utilize it to your advantage. So that's my thing. After several years of microdosing, he said the biggest change he's experienced is a general shift in his mindset, something that's harder for scientists to measure. I started because I read that it helps with depression, he said, but as I've moved on, it's really helped with a lot of mental and personal growth and an outlook on life, how you want to live, and your existence in the world. So I agree with that. I think it's great that a lot of these New York Times is talking about this. I think that this is something that hopefully in 5 to 10 years from now, assuming the world doesn't end, can be accessible to everyone all across the planet. Again, I wish articles like this would be, maybe the reason why they avoid talking about any specifics at all is because they don't want people to, learn any info. To me, I don't know, it's with, an inch, a half an inch. Imagine measuring mushrooms in half an inch. I can't, like, nobody ever would ever think, oh yeah, I'm gonna take 3/4 of an inch of mushroom. What? Like, it's so stupid. It really is monumentally dumb. But again, I'm a pro microdose. I'm a pro macrodose. I don't know what a full dose is. Full implies that, like, there's a percentage meter. Like, that's what full means. Like, you have 100%. In my opinion, the dose heavily depends on, like, what your body weight is, your metabolism, that kind of stuff. And you can always go higher. Like, with mushrooms, there really isn't, like, the LD50 is so high that you're not going to have really any effect. So people will say, like, a quote full dose is like 3 or 4 grams. I mean, if you're like 2 years old, maybe that's a full dose. I did 3 grams before. It was pretty crazy. But I could always do 4. I could do 10. I could do 20. I could do 30. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't put a percentage meter on that kind of stuff. Could do 50. I've read stories of people that have done 60 grams of mushrooms. So is that a full dose? Like, what's a full dose? I don't know. But maybe I'm nitpicky. But anyway, I'm glad people are having success with this. I've had success with this, and I think it's a successful. It's successful. I think that in general, these things are successful. So